What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be taking a look at my Red Zone run versus Omega here. We were able to finally get the win using the 200% Captain Ginyus team here. So I've actually got this run sped up a little bit into 1.25 speed for you guys because it is heck of a run, and it took me quite a long time to get through this whole thing. Just between... You know, I was taking it slow as I was going through this run because I didn't want to make any stupid mistakes. So I was double and triple checking every single move before making it. So it's you know, oftentimes there's quite a few seconds before in between each button click. And then also just between all of the you know, character locking that he does and forcing my strong heavy hitters to go off rotation, and then all of the sealing that he does, and that, you know, reduces damage that we're going to be dealing to him as well, and then on top of him dodging a lot of my attacks. This fight just went on for ages and ages, and as you'll see here, this team has no problem keeping up with the fact that the rotations are constantly getting screwed over, and that people aren't able to get super attacks, which on most teams is a really big problem because a lot of units nowadays are you know, gaining all their defense on super. So if your units are getting sealed and then they're not able to super attack, then they just get hit really hard. But that's just not the case with this team. You know, our one of our weakest units defensively is the AGL, or I'm sorry, the physical Ginyu Force LR here, and they have type advantage for most of this event anyway, so they're really not struggling that hard. So yeah, this team is just absolutely monstrous against this event. It was really not that hard to beat it. This was my first attempt using this team against this event, and I was able to get the win here, no problem. So, yeah, definitely nothing too tough. Ideally, I was gonna try to have or have both of the AGL Captain Ginyus stay on rotation for each. You know, one on each rotation. That's just the best way to build it, because then that way they can continue to get their defensive stacks every turn. But the Shenron himself is not going to make that possible, because if he's locking our units off rotation like he did on that first turn, then there's kind of nothing we can do about it. So this is another bit of a dicey turn because our AGL Ginyu got forced off rotation on that first turn. That means we don't have an AGL Ginyu, or we don't have a Ginyu on rotation with Rikuma Goldo in order to make sure that they have their guard active. So they could actually be a big defensive liability for us on this turn. So I did opt to just leave them in the third slot, especially because they got sealed as well. So on top of not having guard, they're also not going to have their defensive raise from super. So I did need to put them in the third slot, which is a little bit unfortunate. But with how defensively strong this team is, we still have a 90% damage reduction unit and a 70% dodge unit as our two quote-unquote backup units, you know, because obviously Rikuma Goldo is just the most reliable unit to put in slot 1 because they have pretty good defense and the guard. But yeah, those two are perfectly fine as well. As you can see here, they are tanking perfectly fine. So yeah, it ends up working out pretty well for us here. So yeah, we definitely don't have too much trouble getting through this first fight. And I guess they were going to tank for double digits anyway. I didn't realize that they still would, you know, regardless of the hindrances I just mentioned that they had. But they were able to still tank perfectly fine there for double digits. Obviously, if that was a super attack, that probably would have been a different story. So here, what I actually did was I left both the AGL Ginyus on rotation because we're about to finish off this phase, and the next phase is against an STR Shenron, and I didn't want to have the physical Ginyu Force LR on rotation to have type disadvantage, so I opted to just leave the Ginyus together. I figured that made more sense, and then we could just split them on the next, you know, during the next fight. And then that way we would have two AGL Ginyus attacking, and we could do a lot of damage to this next phase of Shenron, all in one turn there. So, luckily here we were able to have the Jace on rotation, so we're able to see where that super attack is at. So now we know we are perfectly safe defensively for this rotation because Jace and Birder will be able to dodge for us, and then obviously the Golden Frieza is going to be able to eat that super no problem. It is kind of crazy to see, like, after having used this AGL Golden Frieza for years and see him be able to tank every single thing in the game for double digits, that there's actually finally something that can damage him. Because some of these red zone fights are just, they hit so freaking hard that even, like, against AGL Golden Frieza, they can actually do a little bit of damage. Like, he had type advantage there and 90% damage reduction on a 200% leader skill, and he still took 10k damage. Like, that's nutty. Nutty that, you know, we're able to take any damage at all in that scenario. And then, you know, we're backing it up with another really, really solid turn here, because we have the two AGL Ginyus who are going to be amazingly defensively. They're both going to get defensive stacks before they get attacked here, and we have the Rikuma Goldo, who, because we have Ginyus with them now, have their guard back. So this is a super, super solid rotation. I wasn't really worried about taking a super attack here either. And honestly, I was kind of hoping that one of the Ginyus would get super attacked here. I figured that would make the most sense, because then we could, you know, take a little bit of damage, so that we can get below that 77% threshold, so we can transform with one or both of the Ginyus. That is going to be an ideal thing for us to be able to do, because while it is nice to be able to get these infinite defense raises, at some point they're kind of moot. You know, once our defense goes upwards of 800, 900k, we're not going to really need any more defense, and it's actually more advantageous for us to be able to transform so that we can start getting some attack raises, and we can start dealing out some damage to this final phase of Omega as quickly as possible, because with all the locking and sealing coming back on that final fight, we are going to need to finish him in fewer turns rather than more, so that we don't risk, you know, an untimely demise because he locks and seals the wrong unit, and then there's nothing we can do about it and we die, you know. So luckily there, the AGL Ginyu did end up taking a super attack. So we took a little bit of damage, but I think we're still above the 77% HP threshold. It's actually hard to tell. I think we're a little bit below it, actually. Yeah, I think we're just a little bit below. So yeah, that might have been enough there. I don't actually remember. We'll have to look and see on the next turn. But I think the Ginyu Force LR might take a little bit of damage here from whatever they get hit with. No, they're tanking for double digits as well. Okay. So yeah, it looks like we're still above the 77% HP threshold. So, but look at that, we're at 800k defense. Mind you, we do have the STR Jason rotation, and he's providing 40% defense. So that is definitely a piece of it to consider. But yeah, like 800k defense is absolutely like plenty. We don't need any more than that. So at this point, I really do want to be able to transform with this friend Ginyu at least, because I know that the friend Ginyu, I believe he was like rainbowed or 79% or something, so his stats were a little higher than mine, which is only 55%. So his defense has been raising a little bit more than mine, so it would be advantageous to get him transformed, because obviously his attack raises are going to do more as well, because he's a higher percent in the dupe system. So, and then we did end up taking that like 13 more K there, so I believe, well, let's see, it looks like we're at about 70%. Oh yeah, okay, after Jace gets clapped up here, we're plenty below 77%, so we are able to get the transformation here. And then we're also about to proc the Dokkan attack this turn, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would have been nice to be able to proc the Dokkan attack on the final fight, which is part of the reason why this fight took so freaking long. It was really just... I rotated off Golden Frieza here for two reasons. One, because Jason Birder link better with the Ginyu, so I figured it would do more for us to have the Dokkan attack be stronger with better links, just to make sure that we're able to finish him off. And then the second thing was because I didn't know if before we transformed with Ginyu, if we were below 40% HP, and I didn't want to risk Golden Frieza getting clapped up if we were below the HP threshold and he didn't have his damage reduction. I wasn't quite sure, so I just rotated him off, just in case there. And I also wanted to make sure to have Ginyu in the first slot, because on this next phase, when we go up against the Int Omega Shenron here, he's going to start locking characters in place. So we want to have Ginyu as close to the front as possible. That way he can have the most turns on rotation in case he's getting locked in place and we're not able to move him back to the beginning. Because basically, if we had him in the second slot, then when we came up on the next rotation, he would start out in the third slot when the 7th slot unit gets rotated around into the first position, and then he could get locked off rotation. So I wanted to make sure that didn't happen. I didn't take the same risk here because I didn't know if Omega... Well, obviously we know Omega isn't going to be supering because he doesn't super until the end of the second turn. So honestly, it probably would have been smart for me to do the same thing here with this AGL Ginyu, now that I think about it. But yeah, so, you know, we're going to be in this fight for a long time now. You will see just repeated instances of him locking us and sealing us and dodging us over and over and over. And it's just a nightmare. So there we're only able to get one super attack with Ginyu, and then our additional normal gets dodged, and we don't do any more supers after that. So that is very unfortunate. Because obviously he's going to be putting out the most amount of damage. The Ginyu Force LR can do a decent amount too, as you can see there, because they have type advantage, so that's not the worst thing. We get really lucky here too. I definitely felt comfortable still not having to use an item because Jace, we were able to freely put Jace in the final slot there, and he wasn't going to have to take any attacks. But we know that Omega's super attack comes out at the end of the second turn, so we didn't really need the Scouter. We knew that the super attack was going to be there. So my plan of attack at this point was to have the Jace Inverter in the second slot there, because obviously they're going to have a really good chance to dodge the super attack that Omega is going to be putting out. So that is why I opted to still not use an item, since we still have quite a few health bars to get through on this guy. And I figured it would be smart to save them, just because I knew it was going to be still quite a few more turns before we were at the, at the finish point of the event here. So yeah, I did opt to risk it and see if we were able to dodge. Obviously, if we aren't able to dodge the super attack, then we just die here most likely, because this is not a situation where we're going to be able to just tank this super attack. So we are 100% relying on the dodge here. I still felt comfortable doing it because I think this was my first run on Omega for the day. So if we blundered there and got hit by this super attack, then we were still going to be able to run the stage back again, and try it in a safer manner. But luckily for us, we actually were able to get the dodge there, so we don't take any damage from that super, and we are sitting pretty here. Moving into the next round. So he's got just over 4 health bars left. And we get lucky here on this rotation because this is a super solid rotation for us defensively and offensively too, because we got the Ginyu there. And he doesn't lock or seal anybody. This is actually like one of the first turns where I've seen that he didn't lock or seal a single one of our units. So that is really useful for us. So we're able to get the most amount of... this is can be a very lucrative turn for us. We're able to dish out quite a bit of damage and stuff. So yeah, that is very nice. And then, of course, because he didn't lock or seal anybody, he just dodges us instead. So he dodged the friend Ginyu's first super there. So that was a little unfortunate. So now we're still sitting here with 3 health bars left to go. Obviously, Golden Frieza's not going to do much damage at all. So... yeah, and if after his first countdown super happens, it just happens again. So basically, he's gonna super at the end of every other turn. So he just hit us with the 3, and then he's gonna hit us with the 2-1, and he will super attack us before the end of this final rotation. Now, because we had already used a support memory for this stage, it doesn't count as a no item run in my book, so I decided, well, this is gonna be potentially the last turn for this fight. We might as well double Whis. So I just threw out both of the Whis items right there, assuming that we would be able to kill him with just this Captain Ginyu alone, if we got some additionals, because, I mean, we're at 8 million attack stat right now, so that is quite a high attack stat, and, we were only able to get the 1 additional super. If we got the 2nd additional super, he would have been dead right there. So that was a little bit unfortunate for us, but then obviously Jason Birder had the chance to launch like 3 attacks total, and they didn't come through for us either, and now I'm starting to get really nervous because, you know, because we were like so close to not killing him, but we did have the double Whis active, so we would have been okay there regardless. But yeah, so we were able to actually get the win there. But man, what a ridiculous run against Omega. It always is. That's why he's one of the hardest fights in the game, because of all of the sealing and locking and dodging that he does. Such a pesky boss. But I hope you guys enjoyed that one, and if you did, then consider being a part of the Toxic Tribe with the like, comment, and subscribe on the video. And that is going to do it for this one. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.